Welcome to my Sorare journey, episode 90, where today we have a bit of a decision-making sort of episode. So I'm going to explain all of my thoughts, maybe you can feed in the comments what you think, and then maybe you'll be ahead of time, some of you might even know what I've already done. But essentially, where better to start than where I am right now, which is this weekend. Now, I've not had the greatest of luck recently. I went on a hot streak and then I've gone on a medium to cold streak. I've been so close. I've been on what I call the bubble, just on the edge of winning like cash money recently, but I've been ending up just shy, picking up little boxes. And what do you get these days? 1 essence, 2 essence. So not really important, not really progressing. And sometimes it's best to not do nothing, and it's actually good to act. So I've been thinking about that. So looking at my team for this week, this is my North London Forever team, my prime team, my best possible team that I think I could put out. And looking at it, I think it looks pretty good. Nick Pope being in great form. Virgil van Dijk, obviously a great fixture. Southampton should control the ball. That'll get him a lot of like possession points, as when winning duels and all the rest of it, because Southampton will actually attack. So I really like that fixture. Bruno Guimaraes, he's someone that's always reliable to put up good scores. At home, he averages like 64. In similar fixtures, he's gone for like 70s to 100. So he's definitely got 100 potential. If not, downside is 50 to 60 on a good game. I do think they should beat West Ham. West Ham really aren't playing that well. The big two, kind of self-explanatory. We've got Cole Palmer, we've got Bukayo Saka, two of the best cards on the game. Captain in Saka, a bit of a difficult choice. I'm expecting, Chelsea to dominate Leicester and maybe Arsenal to not dominate Nottingham Forest, because Nottingham Forest have been good this season. But for me, just home versus away, I always favour home fixtures. So it's going to be Saka for me, because I do see them winning. So I do see Saka getting a decisive, which would, typically put them ahead. And Leicester, they do like to score goals as well. There'd probably be a couple of goals in a Chelsea game, would be how I see it. So that would be the main team, and looking at it, nothing really needs change. Like, yes, maybe you could put, Guardiola instead of Van Dijk. But you're not going to go out and make a change. The team looks solid. So we move on to round 2. And, so these are the guys that just missed out. Obviously, North London Forever is typically Arsenal Spurs. There's only one Arsenal or Spurs player there. But that's kind of besides the point here, because what we're looking at is the quality. Now, Salah being captain, it's pretty self-explanatory here. The guy's been on fire. He's playing Southampton. It kind of all lines up. Now, reason he didn't get in the first team, I don't think Southampton at home, I don't think Liverpool will go and blast them away. In addition, it made it a lot easier that he's a classic card. So when you look at my defensive options, it's going to be, do you want Timber and... who would it be? So Salah and Timber, or do you want Van Dijk and, say, Palmer? And for me, it's Van Dijk and Palmer. Pretty substantially clear, so that leaves that team as it is. Rest of it's pretty solid. I'm not mad on Bernardo Silva. Since I buy him, he's been awful, but he's got scores in him. Timber and Declan Rice, sort of the best we can bring out. And Vicario, that is where I'm starting to get to my sort of decision making. I'm like, right, he's got a bad fixture, but because I've got, 3 of the best attackers in the game, I have to use, Salah here. I have to use an in-season goalkeeper, that means. So that really limits me, because they're actually the only 2 I have, Vicario and Pope. Now, for me, it's an easy choice that, Pope's probably the better choice than Vicario this week. But then we're like, okay, well, can we improve the goalkeeper spot? And that gets you looking to your actual gallery. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so I've got the backups and I've got those. If we're looking defensively, we've only got Romero and Porro, who are great, love their scores. But when they've got a bad fixture, we're reliant on Jurriën Timber or Livramento, who both aren't great scorers. So what initially might be a goalkeeper problem could be solved with better defenses. Because obviously you get one you get one last season player. So I could bring in like a Alisson, who I know I've got in goal, or Kelleher, whoever, and maybe drop Salah somewhere else. But regardless, just going through the rest of them, I've got strong midfielders, plenty of options from different teams. Basuma's even a bit more nailed now after Bentancur's injuries. And then up front, the two big boys, Brennan Johnson's good for, a goal now and again as well. And if they do get injured, and Kunku should replace Palmer and possibly Sterling replaces Saka. That's all a bit wishy-washy, but we're just focusing on, the stars for now, no injuries. So you can see the clear issue is defense, and we only had about 40 or 50 pounds to actually go and fix that issue, so not really a lot I could do. But I did see the price of Bart Verbruggen, who's been playing very well, and yeah, I went and sold mine. I didn't expect him to sell. I only put him up for one day, and I made a sale of £255. The reason, I just thought that's a really solid price looking at the goalkeeper market. I don't play under 23s. He's in a bit of form, and yeah, if I did want to get him back at 400 in season, that's fine. Previous sale at 276 was what encouraged me to go out and sell him. And then when I had the option for £10 to £15 less, just happy to lose that difference and get instant liquidity there. Previous sale before that, I was even higher anyway. So looking at that and thinking, okay, so you sold a really good goalkeeper. I think Verbruggen's great. I think Brighton's great. I'm not sure how well Brighton will fare in terms of clean sheets and not conceding free goals, which is the core of good scoring goalkeepers on Sorare. Because Brighton's play is very attacking based, they do flood everyone forward, so they do get caught out. Now, I know, looking at his scores, he's kept some really big clean sheets in the Premier League. Well, a really good game against City, really good game against Liverpool, clean sheet against Newcastle where he's outstanding. But I think more regularly, they're not. I think Brighton will sit back more against these big teams. Realistically, against the Wolves, against Tottenham, against Chelsea, these are the more what I'd call common fixtures, what you expect most of the time, where they're not defensive, they're not keeping clean sheets. He's not even kept that many clean sheets. So for me, it's a good sale. And I'm looking to the market, I'm like, what's the most undervalued Premier League goalkeeper? I could run you through all of them, but for me, it's Ederson. He's just sold for £150, which I was debating buying before this video, but I've decided against it for now. Obviously, filming this to help you with your decision making. Maybe you help me. It's a fun little problem to solve, I think. But yeah, if I can buy Ederson for 150 and sell Bart for 250 and get Ederson and £100, that feels like a much better option. For me, that's a Premier League player trying to get the best out of an in-season collection. Now, what scares me is obviously that's not an in-season card. To get an in-season, I think the cheapest on the market is about 350, 400, so a little bit out of budget. So keep that in mind as you see the next thing that's happened, and I've gone and sold Matt Sells. Now, Matt Sells has been off to a great start in the Premier League for a really cheap price. I sold him for at £66.99. Now, at £67, selling a goalkeeper that's guaranteed to start pretty much, been putting up not great but reasonable scores, West Ham are 60, Palace are 92. There is chance of good scores. Yes, he has bad ones where he gets 27 against Brighton, Fulham 34. But what I really liked about Sells was actually was that £20? I can get his in-season. So that kind of solves my issue. So the plan was I could probably sell Sells. He's just sold at that price. Let's get rid of him. Looked at Verbruggen's price. I was like, we'll list him. We actually ended up selling both. And now I'm looking at it, and let's flick back to the squad, and we know we've got weaknesses in defence and potentially goalkeeper. Pope and Vicario are quite good. And I've got Alisson in the classic season cards here. Another option. So my initial plan to upgrade Matt Sells for a £20, I was like, perfect. But once I've got the cash in the bank, I'm like, I'm a top division player in the Premier League competition. I shouldn't be trying to fill out 3 teams. It's always quality over quantity. Now, I know personally I could easily put an extra £100, £200 into Sorare. Now, would you want to do that at this time? For me, it's a yes. I think some of the prices are ridiculous. I'm really liking the market in the minute. Some of you in the comments of my last video actually agreed and furthered my analysis of we appreciate the cards are going to go down in value over time. But with the division structure and being able to take advantage of that and win actual cash whilst already having a lot of good, players to fill the gaps. That wouldn't be an awful idea. So now, if we put together a budget and say, East's gone up a little bit, we've got £300, lovely. Add in £67 of cash, which is annoying, it's in a different balance, but I could probably sort that out with some of my own, crypto, and let's just put them together and say £370, add in £8 of market credits. Let's say we're getting to £378. Okay, then what do we do? So we're pretty good in midfield and attack. Kind of. One back, it might be stupid, but I've got to explain everything that I'm looking at here. When we look at the rest of my teams on Sorare, actually where I'm struggling to add depth pieces is the forward position. So we've got Danny Welbeck, who's not really a great scorer unless he gets a goal. Dybala, 50-50 where he's going to play, and Jota, who's injured at the minute. So in my rare teams, having an extra striker wouldn't be awful. Because yes, I've got Palmer, Saka, Brennan Johnson, and Mohamed Salah old season. But when you get down to the depths of the teams, I'm actually not able to really field teams. I'm using injury risks or rotation risks. So keep that in the back of your mind, but ultimately I think we exclude that and say, what you're doing, you swing for the fences, you go for Div 1 and Div 2 to get promoted to Div 1. Which is a defensive problem. Now, I did at the time think my defensive problems were solved by buying Ben White. I got him for a really good price, so I thought. It's the game sometimes on Sorare. So I bought him here after a big dip from 126 to £77. I was like, great. Recently, £15. He's selling for £15. I know he's had a little, they said he had a little surgery to fix, but he should be a starting player for Arsenal. Like, they said he's not out for that long. I mean, Arteta does lie, but anyway. Some just Arsenal defenders that I thought, again with Timber, he's fit and available, puts up good scores from against weak teams. I got him for 75. People buying him now for 27. And that's, obviously that's part of prices going down. But I just think he's gone down too quickly for a starting Arsenal player. Again, was that sidetracked? Yes. Essentially, the defence is weak, the goalkeeper's weak. We've got maybe £370 we can go out and buy some in. If there's something extraordinary, we can go and get maybe an extra £100. Let's call it max 600 if something was crazy. Which, let's look at what you're returning here as well, because too many people get carried away in the fun of it and just going out and getting who you want. Now, I've got to find how to actually get to the new prize pool area. I had it before. Do you not confirm your lineup? Sorry, I've just changed this today. Okay, so here you go. You just look at it. You don't edit your team. So if I was to win £600, I'm needing the 5th place out of currently 52 players. It's hard, but it's not impossible. I've already won. I've already come 8th or 7th. It's not bad. So you've got to consider what you can return and how much, a big problem we get on Sorare at, my sort of level now is that every player you add adds less to your team. It's called diminishing marginal returns, where at the start, when you have 5 cards and they're all pretty rubbish and you add one really good card, it adds marginally so much to your team. But when I've already got a really good team, adding an extra player gives me an edge of not very much. But how weak is the defence? I think it shows when Romero's injured, because I can play Romero against anyone. So, let's say you don't want Ederson because he would cause issues defensively. He would cause issues as an out-of-season card. I'm not confident enough to go and get an in-season for Ederson. I don't know. I just don't have that vibe. Defensively, who are you looking at in, the Premier League? Best average defender, Romero. You've got him, lovely. Guardiola. Bloke's been a monster recently, but £486 when you can get Van Dijk for half the price? Not sure. One of the other problems you get is that when you get to Division 1, you're sitting and you're thinking differentials, or you should be thinking differentials, because everyone knows Alisson, Guardiola, Bruno Fernandes, Saka, and Palmer, or Salah, whoever you prefer, they're probably the best 5. So everyone's playing them. So if you can say, I'm not going to get Salah, I'm going to play, Palmer instead, which is obviously what I'm doing. It adds you that's a bad example. Rather than saying, I'm not going to play Salah, I'm going to play Mbeumo, who's, performing at a similar level this year, so far, obviously it's a short year, then you're actually making differential gains on the leaderboard. Now, you can overcomplicate yourself, where in Division 1, the best strategy is not to go and play a bad team like a Brentford stack. That is not an optimal strategy, which I heard someone say, because you risk, when you're playing differentials, the risk is you differential up or you differential down. And the risk of losing that Division 1 status is awful. So you want your high average players with maybe 1 or 2 differentials that can push you up the leaderboard. So Guardiola, for his price, he doesn't appeal to me because he makes me more template-like, where I'm going to be moving in line with everyone else. And I think he's overperforming. That's not in the Premier League. If I can filter by, let's put Man City. 92s, 80s, 100s. Thankfully, he dropped a stinker against Sporting. But, yeah, he needs a really weak team. I'm debating that when I say it, because he doesn't really need a weak team. He just really rips against weak teams. I do like him. Ultimately, I just think he's overvalued. He's a good card, but I don't think you're getting the value out of him. Someone bought him for 361, though. Oh, he's getting into the stage where he's not overvalued. Last time I checked, he was in the 500s. So 361's a bit more reasonable. But like I said, you can get Virgil van Dijk for half the price, which I actually went and got. I actually had a classic one just because it was too cheap to turn down. This was a max level for 60 quid. He's now trading for 88 in the last sale, which is good. But you can go and get him for in season 220. Not sure where he ends up next season, and that's another thought that gets in my head when I'm like, oh, what about next season? Realistically, this is a 1-year system for in-season cards, so just think about him this season. He's not leaving Liverpool this season, and they've been fantastic against these hard teams. He's putting up rock solid scores. But what scares me is I've already got a Van Dijk, so do I go and get 2? You can't play them together. So I'm like, right, who else would I get? Trent, right? Who would you play instead of Trent? 371 someone bought him for today. So, would you want Trent or Guardiola then? Because they're very similar prices, as we've just seen. Guardiola, probably. City, bit more consistent than Liverpool, long term. He's putting up better scores. They dominate possession, so he's always in the final third. Rotation risk is a bit more Guardiola, though. So, yeah, you're looking at those two as your premium assets. And I don't really see many other options. You can go down the list and get Ruben Diaz, but you're just playing Pep's rotation games, and it's a nightmare. Robertson, Calafiore, all got issues until you get into players like Porro, who I like but I already own. So, then you look at the goalkeepers, and you're like, okay, well, who of the goalkeepers are probably the best? Alisson Becker, who I do own and have debated just getting the in-season version of Becker. He has had a few consistent injuries though, and I've already got a max level old season card, and I can use that when I need to in-season. So it's not really appealing to me. David Raya, £853. Why? He hasn't had a sale in a while, but he just seems like one of the most overvalued keepers. He's good, he keeps a lot of clean sheets, but he shouldn't be double Emi Martinez, Becker, Jordan Pickford, just shouldn't be. Then you're on to Emi Martinez, and I'm thinking, World Cup winner, player I like, starter. This has potential. So let's go look at him. I actually think last time I checked, he wasn't able to be picked up because he had... no one was going to sell him at a reasonable price. Yeah. So 470, I'm just not playing for an in-season, and then in the out-of-season, would you rather have Emi Martinez or Edison for half the price? The answer is Edison for half the price. So I'm at that point because I've been looking into this further and further where I'm like, well, next game week, and I know we shouldn't focus on one game week. I do try and take longer term pictures, but I'm really struggling. We've got 2 cash in-season competitions that I've got players for that could really improve my goalkeeper position. So do I just get Edison and he's going to play against Feyenoord, got a better chance of keeping a clean sheet? Sporting's an alright fixture. Maybe, I don't know, they smash City. Away, it's very difficult to know what to do. So I'm at the stage now where I'm making a video on it so you can feed back. And I'm thinking, sometimes the best thing is to do nothing. Because one of the benefits I made when I sold Bart Verbruggen and when I sold Matt Sells is that they didn't cancel any substantial team for me this week. They just additional Division 3, Division 4 teams. So yeah, having £300 in the bank and having that flexibility if something goes wrong this game week, maybe Palmer or Saka get injured, that might be better than locking up £150 in Edison. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you like this sort of analysis, decision making where I run through all my different options. But I don't know for now. I could go and just pick something and go for it whilst I'm editing this video. But who knows. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you want to support the channel. And all the best to you. Cheers.